Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you are on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to take trash, treasure, junk, secondhand items and make them over and share the process with you all of what I do to these items to give them new life. And in today's video, it is a true trash to treasure. These are those items that you look at and you're like, oh, they are just too dirty. They're just too. So let me share the process with you all of what I did with these items.
So I do believe this is a window that you should be able to see through it, but we'll get to that in a second. I just absolutely love the patina that this wood has aged to. So let's see if we can get this cleaned up enough that we can have some clear glass. My thoughts are, I hope so. So, yes, when I'm picking windows, a lot of times they've just been sitting around outside in a barn, in a shed, sometimes just out in the weather itself. So you just never know. So I'm going to test out some of this power shot stuff. I've never used it before, but I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to give it a try to see if I can get whatever is on this off. A lot of times I like to power wash these old windows, but the weather here in Michigan just has not cooperated. So I need some wall decor. So I'm going to go ahead and yeah, oh my goodness, will you look at the crud that's coming off that window. So yeah, hand washing is the option for these windows today. Surprisingly, you can see through it. Well worth the time and the grossness of cleaning this all up, but that aged wood just had my heart when I saw it. And I actually picked this up at the same place that I picked the window, was this green sack. Beautiful, love the striping. I love the wording, but I have a seam in the middle of the window. This has already had its bath. And this is as clean as it's going to get, folks. So, yeah, see, if I put the down, the bar is in the middle. Then they just have an empty spot kind of hanging out. So, I'm like, the thing that I loved about the window is usually these windows have been painted on, and so you need to clean them up and repaint them. So it was nice to find one in the natural wood. So I think, but I'm going to flip it over and actually use the area that just has the green sack stripes on it. But the nice thing about this is it's double-sided, that I can cut it apart and get two different projects out of this. And this patch just has my heart, y'all. Somebody had used a pocket from a jean to patch this. They were used. People took them back to the mill and filled them back up. So it was probably a necessity to fill this bag. So that is just a cute little story. Though I know I'm not keeping that detail in my project today, but it is a cute story. So now I just have to try to line up the grain sack stripes as even as I can. The bag is not really even. The fabric's been stretched out. So you kind of just do the best that you can do. When I have it as good as I can get it, I'm just going to put some masking tape just to hold that fabric on there. So when I go to flip it over, hopefully it doesn't move too awful much. And now I'm just going to go ahead and staple it on. I'll cut off the excess once I get it stapled, but I'm not going to pull it. I'm not going to stretch it. I'm not going to try to pull the wrinkles out, because all I'm going to end up doing is shifting those green sack stripes. I did not iron it for the same reason that sometimes that would have stretched the fabric also. That would make them not be as straight up and down. I mean, it was pretty darn good, but yes, once you start working with this material, sometimes it will stretch out more if I try to iron it. Now I want my back to look just as pretty as my front, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of the Contractor's brown paper on the back. This I will just hot glue on, and then once I get it all glued on full four sides, I will I'm going to take my sander and sand off just at the edges, and that'll give it a nice clean look. And now I'm just going to add some eyelet hangers. I get this in a pack off of Amazon. These windows are pretty heavy, so I want something that's going to be good and secure. I just use a ruler to make sure that I'm measuring them down so that they're even on both sides. And then I like to use a 17 gauge wire that's nice and strong to be able to hang these old windows from. And then I want to add this pretty thrift store found wreath. Oh, is it just not gorgeous? We got some grapevine and some green and cream pip berries that just accentuate this beautifully. Now, the hard part was figuring out how I was going to attach it without seeing a hanger system. But, you know, it was a thrifted item, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get the pip berries all kind of not squashed out, but then we finally came up with the idea of just actually screwing through the pip berry itself into that middle piece of wood to keep it nice and secure. Now we're on to the same type of window, though this was not purchased at the same place. It is a unpainted window with that beautiful, I've weathered and aged over time. And this one you can actually almost, you can see through a lot better, but beautiful 4-paned window. So I will stick to my preferred method of a power washer machine itself, cleaning off windows. I found that this power shot stuff left a residue that was really hard to get off the glass and make it as clear as I wanted, even using my Norix cloths. But, you know, it worked. It's nice to try out new things. Now, some of these windows were loose, so I need to use some glazing points to keep them from shifting around. You don't want your glass to accidentally break. So I'm just going to go ahead and get some of these put in and get these windows paned nice and tight. My best sellers in my booth is putting a old flag behind it. So that is what I'm going to share with you today. Just that beautiful wood, this beautiful secondhand. I always seem to run across these anywhere, estate sales, Goodwill, thrift stores, auctions, and they're usually thrown in a box and just so sad. But I try to be as respectful as I can to these beautiful flags, and all I'm going to do is center it so that the stars are in one of the panes, and then hopefully my stripes will stay nice and level. To fold the fabric over enough that some of the wood is exposed. That way there, when I do that, I'm going to be actually attaching this with a tack, but you don't tack through the fabric itself. You're just tacking through into the wood, and the side of the tack is going to be holding that flag in place. Before I can start tacking this down, I need to put something in between where I folded the flag over. A lot of times you can see the seam. So what I'm going to do is cut another piece of that contractor's paper and fit it underneath that whole flag so you don't see that seam from the front. So now I can start tacking it down. And like I said, what you do is your pointy point of your tack goes into the wood, and then the side of the tack will hold the fabric of the flag in place. So for some reason, I decided that I would test out the Dollar Tree tacks. I don't recommend them. I really do recommend the upholstery tacks because, one, they kept breaking on me. They would go crooked and bend and not hold the fabric down. And I found that actually they were harder to tack in, hammer in than I was used to. So I'll probably always go back to just my regular old upholstery tacks that you find in the fabric section. Yep, I got this all tacked on, and then, yes, a couple of these panes were actually held in by some old rusty nails and probably the hammering, trying to get those tacks in. It broke one of the panes of glass. So now I have to come up with, okay, okay, so now what do I do, right? So sometimes the project makes you shift. I've got this 3-pane window, and I have actually, I've seen on Pinterest where they do a flag, and then one of the ends is trendling out of the corner. But unfortunately, the way that my window was, I had to move panes around. And then I got it all tacked on and then realized that my stars were in the wrong corner. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the Dollar Tree tacks did not last you all. So, okay, so now I'm finally on to, yes, I'm going to do this right this time. So I folded it over. I did put a piece of cardboard or the contractor's paper underneath so you don't see that main seam, and then I figured it out. I just plain and simply figured it out. This is the first time I've made one of these, but so I got it nice and secure with the tacks. The line is, I'm not going to trying to iron that line out. I don't want to put heat on it, so over time it'll just be what it is going to be. So with the contractor's paper on the back, I still want to hide most of those tacks, so all I'm going to do is cut and just put it on the side that has the flag. So I'm just going to cut the excess of the paper over. I'm going to go ahead and fold that raw edge, and it'll just be beautiful. And I needed to come up with a way to hang it. Usually I use that wire, and then you don't want to drill into your flag from underneath. So this is going to be one of those situations where you're just going to see the hanger, because I needed to pull it up high enough that it wasn't into the flag, but secure enough with long screws that it was going to hold it. So at one of my auctions I went to, I picked up what most of the men were like, "What the heck's she buying?" Yes. So yeah, it was just a beautiful patinaed piece of plywood. I love that chippiness. Oh, I could totally see making a sign out of this. So first off, I need to see if I can get what looks like patina a lot of times is just plain and simply dirt. So I need to go ahead and get that cleaned off. And then going through an antique mall, I found this beautiful wooden horse. Oh, is it not just gorgeous? And it's made out of plywood also, so perfect to pair the two of these together. So the simple of adding this on is just I'm going to go ahead and do some Titebond wood glue. I want to make sure that it's nice and secure. The horse itself just fits. If I would have put it the other way, it did not fit. And I actually picked up 2 of these boards, but I didn't want to use 2 up for one project. So I'm just going to make it work. I'm also going to go ahead and secure it in with some brad nails. I've got shorter ones that are not going to go all the way through. When you do brad nails, there's lots of different sizes, so I don't want one all the way through sticking out the back. I just need them to hold the horse onto the piece of plywood while that glue is drying. For the other side of the board, I'm going to do just some general, somebody made this so you knew where to go on their farm. So I'm just doing writing stables, just as simple as that. I'm going to try to do a simple font. Fonts are always fun to play with, but trying to size it appropriate for the size that I have left. Sometimes it's a lot of no's until you get to the yes. I love this stencil type of font. So I'm just going to cut it out on some vinyl to make my stencil. So what didn't work well for glass worked well for the wood. It was so clean that my vinyl stuck a little too fast on me, and unfortunately got a little off. So it will just be what it is going to be, like it was a handmade, well, it is a handmade sign, that perfectly imperfect. And to go with my black horse, I'm just going to be using some of the Fusion's Coal Black and a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree store. Those work. And just do the pouncing technique where there's just a little bit of paint on that makeup sponge. You don't want to put too much on that it goes underneath your vinyl. Now here's why I did not want to try to remove the vinyl and cut another piece. Plus you were just wasting product, and it was about 1/4 of an inch off. So I'm going to heat up my vinyl because I felt as if the vinyl as the sticky was going to remove some of that chippy goodness of the paint that was on there. So I'm going to heat it up with a blow dryer, hopefully that it's only going to remove minimal of it. I've had it actually where it's actually pulled off and made a square box when I've done vinyl before. So I was trying to avoid that situation. Now to give my lettering just a little bit of age, I'm just taking some 220 sandpaper and just going over it so it doesn't look like I just painted that on, that it has more with time, just like the chippy goodness of the whole project. So I'm going to do that same eyelets and the 17 gauge wire to hang this with. Now, my next window that I'm working on has been in my hoard for quite a while. I'm just waiting for me to get inspiration. And I picked this one up, I know, at a Goodwill, but I've just kind of been hanging out, waiting. There's so much goodness, the white, the old hardware, not so much the grass that's painted on it, but just waiting for inspiration. So the first thing I need to do with this window is get that painted on grass off. So I'm going to do that same thing. The power shot's working just fine, but I just need to soak it down to start getting that to soften up so I can scrape off that paint. Yeah, the power shot worked fine for soaking off, but I won't use it on windows again. So I do not suggest that because it's just a greasy residue that no matter how many times I keep using clean water to get it off, it was just really hard to get that residue off. So for cleaning windows, it is not a good product. But, I just thought because some of the windows that I had were so dirty that, yeah, I would test it out. I'm sure it's good for other items. We're all cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and I want to age this paint. The paint is very crisp and it must be just that it was freshly painted, and that black line you see is from like weather stripping. So it's the sticky residue that was left behind. So I'm going to also try to see if I can get that sanded off because I was really trying to do no paint projects here for you all today. Well, hello, beautiful. Yes, I just recently picked this up at my local Goodwill. So this was my inspiration that I needed for this window. Is that just not gorgeous? So I have some of the dried floral still. I picked them up and they're 40% off at Hobby Lobby. Even though mine is not an open frame, it has those 4 panes. Finding a small window is not always an easy task. You can find quite large ones, or you can find the 6 panel ones. They seem to be pretty common, but finding small windows is not easy in my area anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and try to replicate that window. And that window came home with me, you all. So now I just have some of the Spanish moss, and I believe this came from an auction haul. So I love when I have craft items, DIY items that that are in my stash. Anyway. So yes, Spanish moss, the dried, the color seemed to match very well on the dried flowers. So the hard thing about dried flowers, as you know, is that you get all those little pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break apart the Spanish moss and kind of put 4 individual sections. So I'm going to work as an individual pane and put enough Spanish moss in there that you don't see the glass through it. And I'm probably doing this harder than I needed to, but with the 4 paints, I'm pretty sure probably the original one was glued onto the piece of board to start with, but separating them out into the 4 paints, this to me was the easiest that I could figure out for myself to do. So I am hot gluing the bunches of Spanish moss to the bottom corners, just very gingerly trying to keep it a nice, tight little package. And now I need to deshed my Spanish moss because once I put a backing on it, I don't want any of that loose flying around. So tap, 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 trying to get all those little loose particles out. Now I'm going to go ahead and start adding in my flowers. I just find that it's easier for me to work with each individual pane, and I know my stems are still long, but I'm just trying to get my general layout. And then now I can go ahead and just snap off or cut off the bottom of the stems. I'm going to I'm going to use hot glue to attach it to the Spanish moss so that it does not shift around. The fun is trying to visualize what the front of the window is going to look like when you're working from the back. So I'm just trying to layer in as many of the dried flowers as I can. I did leave some of them that came out in the pack because I know that they're quite large, and once I put a backing on it, it would just smush them and they would break apart. So when I'm picking out my pieces and parts, that's what I'm looking for. I have filled in as much as I think I possibly can for the squashability. So I'm just adding some masking tape just to kind of hold it in place. The Spanish moss, the stems. That way I can look from the front to see if I can fill in any more without the worries of everything falling out. I think it's glued in there, but I'd just rather be secure. And when I was matching up boards in our stash, waiting for Chris to come home to be able to cut me a piece, because I will not use that saw. Yeah, the other piece of that chippy plywood just looked beautiful as a backer for it. I'm going to go ahead and press down on the wood while Chris is pre-drilling a countersink so that the screws are nice and flush so they're not scraping up somebody's wall, and then making sure that the screws are down and nice and tight. Just going to add the same eyelet hanger system to the back of this to hang it. I have another two-paned window. I love that white chippiness that this window has going on. The back was painted black, and it has a lot of paint on the glass itself, so I need to go ahead and yep, the whole project I used that power shot, but I'm just going to get that soaking so I can start to scrape that off. Skip to this part. What the heck? So flip it over, start cleaning out the window, and there goes my white chippiness. What the heck? Who would have known that the white chippiness on this window was some powder residue? I have no clue. I have no clue, you all. So all of a sudden, what I thought was white chippy goodness is just a black window. And I guess I could leave it black, but I'm actually making a window box, and I don't think black is going to go with my other piece very well. So what I wanted to, and started this video as being a no paint video, hey, there's secondhand finds, y'all. So what the idea you have in your head, once you start working on them, Yep. And you just always have to be ready to reshift the way you were thinking. So I'm just going to do a dry brush technique, not putting a lot of the paint on, let the paint dry, and then we will work from there. See, that beautiful white chippiness would have went perfectly with this box, which is just an old drawer. I got this drawer at the same place I got the window from. They fit perfectly together. I've already vacuumed out this box. I need to get it clean, but can you see all the little bug infestations that it probably had back in the day that have ate into the wood? They're all gone now. There's no friends here today, but it has that beautiful aged, wonderful patinaed front green on this. So now that my paint is dry, I decided I don't like that at all. So not only am I going to sand it, I'm going to try to sand most of it off. So I got most of it off. It's good enough. It's that perfectly imperfect. So now I'm going to use my watered down antiquing wax to give it that aged wood look. Right now that wood is just looking way too new, and that should tie in the white paint and the black paint all in together. And then I'll go ahead and do the same mixture on the drawer itself. That'll really tie the two pieces together. Now I just need to attach my window to the back of the drawer, and I just need the assistance of some clamps to hold it in place. Now that I have it all secure, I'm just going to go ahead and pre-drill a hole. I'm going to put one in the middle of the bottom just to hold it in so I can remove the clamps. But I'm going to use long screws to attach it to the drawer. Hopefully not that long that they go all the way through, but I'm going to try to hit the bottom in the side areas of this. Now I just want to attach this grapevine wreath. I love these types of wreaths. I think they're really pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and staple it on in 4 spots. And then I'll have to go back through with just a little bit of brown paint so you don't see that fresh staple.
Okay, yes, they were just. Sometimes you just never know, like, was that really going to be clear glass under all that dirt? But I saw that natural wood beauty, and sometimes you just leave that green sack, the age, the patina that is, it is. And just a simple wreath. Yes, when I bought it, I would have loved to do the emblem on it, but it just, with the window, finding a small 1-pane window is not an easy task, and I probably would pay up if I could find some. So that's not the first time a window has broke in the process of me working on it. They're old. They're unpredictable. I remembered seeing a lot on Pinterest where they had it trundling out that broken window, so just had to pop on, kind of get my vision going of how to make it work, and then, yeah, I put my stars on the wrong way. But yeah, I didn't share that process with you all. You know, we all we all make mistakes. I do anyway. That's why I say it's the perfectly imperfect of it all. But I think it's gorgeous. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I always try to give the flag the respect it deserves. And I'm happy. Oh my gosh, running across that dried flowers in that window at my local Goodwill, getting that inspiration of finally what to do with that 4-paned window that I don't know, I have a hard time passing up windows, so I usually will pick them up. So I thought that was absolutely gorgeous. And I could have added clay molds to it. I could have added transfers to the window, but I just wanted to keep it. Sometimes it's just the simple things, just the simple things. And then that sign, finally getting to, when I saw that horse at the antique mall, I knew what I wanted to put that with. I knew that I wanted to put it with that chippy plywood that I had at home, which then worked for the backing for the old window, and it all, yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, it just all works out, y'all. And then, yeah, what the heck? Why did my white wash off? It must have just been some powder residue. Oh, I probably don't want to know what it was, but it all worked out, and now we have a simple window box, just simple terracotta pots, just to get somebody to buy it and put their own plants in it for the season, since we're finally in the season here in Michigan. So again, thank you all for watching today's video. Let me know down in the comments below which one of the items I made over today were your favorites. Are you going to try any of these techniques? Do you have any of the items laying around in your own stash? So give me a quick comment down below. And as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you are new and you liked this kind of content, please smash that subscription button. Help me build my channel. I really would appreciate it, along with hitting that notification bell so you know we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!